to my channel. As always, thank you so much for being here and sharing your time with me. I really appreciate it. We are back with another video today, and I'm very excited to talk about this one because it's something I'm very passionate about when it comes to my life in general, but it's delightful to read about it in books, and that is platonic love. So today I'm going to be talking about books that I've read that deal with said topic, and they all make me very happy. So I hope you like these recommendations, and if you have read them, I would love to know how you feel about them. Hopefully it's positive, and if not, give them a go if they appeal to you, and we can all gush over the wonders of platonic love. Anyway, without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so I have my little notes here because all of these books I own, like I have physical copies of. Most of these I left back in Ontario, so I don't have the copies with me. But if I do have a copy of it with me here, I will show it. If not, I will put a photo on the screen. So the first one I want to talk about, which is one, I actually think most of these are in my favorite books of all time, if I will say so. Anyway, the first one is The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky. I actually didn't realize that this book was published all the way in 1999, and it was his debut novel, which is really incredible. So this book is great if you're looking for a short but deeply impactful, extremely moving read. Essentially, the premise of this book is the main character, Charlie, is writing to this unknown recipient, and he addresses this person as friend, typically, and he is telling them everything that's going on in his life as a high school freshman, I believe he is. So yes, this novel is an epistolary novel, which is one of my favorite, what would that be called? One of my favorite layouts, structures in a novel. So since he's explaining through these letters what he's experiencing in his everyday life as a freshman in high school, it is very much a coming of age story. But the main thing that I like to emphasize when I talk about these books is that none of these books belittle coming of age, like the coming of age journey, which I think oftentimes in popular media and TV shows and things of that sort, I think being a teenager is highly misrepresented. I immediately think of TV shows like Riverdale. That, for whatever reason, that's the only one that comes to mind. And it's just not accurate, and it doesn't validate the intensity in which teenagers and young adults feel their emotions. And I think this book just illustrates that so wonderfully. It really just makes the reader understand that what they feel is valid regardless of their age range, because that shouldn't even be a factor when considering the validity of someone's emotions. Do you know what I mean? So essentially, this book, Charlie, the main character, Charlie, is experiencing all the things that you experience in high school. He's experiencing going on first dates, falling in love, making friends, going to parties, drinking, drugs, all of the above. But he falls into this really wonderful, eclectic group of individuals that just envelop him with love and new experiences. And it is so special to me. I felt so safe and comforted while reading his journey with his group of friends. I did have a very positive experience in high school, so I do think that's also why it almost makes me nostalgic. And I wish that every person had a similar experience when it comes to the group of friends he finds in high school. However, during this year, he is coming to terms with a lot of things that happened in his past that he had been suppressing, and he's kind of like grappling with that. But the main reason why I mention it when I'm suggesting a platonic love story is because one of the girls in the friend group that he is welcomed into is someone that he quickly is falling in love with. But at the core of this love is like Charlie just has this intense and yearning desire to make her feel loved, and not necessarily in a romantic way. Just the epitome of honesty and innocence and purity. He just wants for her to know that she is loved and that she means so much to him. And that It honestly eats away at me in the most positive, beautiful way, because everyone deserves to be made feel that way, and I think more people should be open about how they feel towards their friends and allow themselves to love fully and not limit yourself when you're explaining that to other people. Platonic love is so beautiful, and I just love when people aren't afraid to express that. I am a very cheesy friend, and I tell my friends all the time how much I adore them, because I really do. I would not be where I am without my friends. That is the main reason why I wanted to mention the perks of being a wallflower. It is so beautiful, it is very poignant. There are some trigger warnings that you should definitely look into if you're considering reading it, but I think it's 110% worth it. It is beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Anyway, I have talked so long about a book that is a little bit over 200 pages long, so I will continue. The next one I want to talk about is Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. And the actual description on the back of the book, right from the get-go, states something like, "This is not a love story," or something along those lines. And I thought that was brilliant, that from the beginning, it is made abundantly clear that we're not about to dive in to something that is going to ultimately lead into a romance. So that allows you to view this love in a platonic way, as opposed to almost like anticipating and like building this whole thing up, and you're like, okay, when is the romance gonna start? It's just love. It is pure, honest love between two friends that just love each other as human beings and nothing more. The premise of this book, now that I've explained how much they love each other, is the main character, Frances, is a determined academic senior in high school, and that is all she allows herself to focus on. She just wants to be the absolute best when it comes to her studies. But when she meets Aled, she finally allows herself to explore the aspects of herself that she has been suppressing for so long. What I mean by that is that she finally allows herself to succumb to the other parts of her that she had yet to like tap into, that also bring her a lot of joy, that are aside from her academic pursuit, which I think is so beautiful in and of itself, because I don't think that's discussed frequently enough in books that discuss coming of age. I think oftentimes there's like this horse blinders on, academia is the only route, when oftentimes it isn't, and that is discussed in this novel ever so gently, using this friendship as like a way to guide you through that journey, that not everyone needs to go to university, and that that's not the path for everyone, and that there's nothing wrong with that, and that there are people that will support whichever journey you decide to go on. And that is very much what these two friends do for one another. There's obviously very many things that happen throughout this friendship. There are ups and downs. So it is a very entertaining read, especially the layout of it, because they run like this online, what is it? Like an online podcast, I believe it is, or something online that they do online, but no one knows it's them. So they incorporate that into the novel. It is a really, really fun read. It's very transportational, no, I can't think of the word. What is that word? What? Anyway, okay. Doesn't matter, I'm gonna waste too much time doing that. It really does take you to a whole different world, and even though there are a lot of moments where you're very overwhelmed and sad for these characters, it is such a lovely thing to witness these two individuals be a support system for one another and encourage each other to just be whatever they want to be and do whatever they want to do in order for them to be the happiest that they can possibly be. So I really, really enjoyed Radio Silence when I read it last year, and I really recommend it. Okay, next up is Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. John Green has a very special place in my heart. He is one of the first authors that I read that made me bend. Would bend over backwards be the right expression? I just need to drop expressions altogether because I could never successfully use them. But he's one of the first authors that completely broke my heart in two and made me realize how, like, I don't even know how to explain it, like how a book can hold so much power over your emotions and your heart and your brain and your entire being. So I have read everything that he's ever put out except for the novel that he did with the other author, like the Christmas book. I don't even know what it's called. So this novel is about a girl named Asa Holmes, and she is currently dealing with the loss of her father. And while she is going through this, I guess, process of acceptance and mourning, she is made aware that a fugitive billionaire has gone missing, and she takes on the task of trying to solve this mystery and find him. And then the son of the billionaire, Davis, figures out or finds out that Asa is trying to look for his dad and decides to join her on this little expedition. So again, when I say that, that sounds like, oh, this book is a mystery, like a young adult mystery. But it's actually, this mystery is used, it's like the backdrop, when really the main purpose of this novel is to have an insight into the life of a young girl dealing with obsessive compulsive disorder. And it is so spectacularly done. I remember I would get like tingles all the way down my body because it was so visceral, the way she would describe her thoughts and how she would constantly like talk about it as if she was spiraling, and it is just tangible, the struggle that she's going through and how overwhelming it is. And even though there is a very light romance between Davis and Asa, why can't I think of how you say her name? Asa? Again, it is very obvious that the main purpose of their love is just two young kids or young adults, however you want to label them, holding space for one another because they're going through similar things. Like they're both dealing with the absence of their fathers, and they are both going through very difficult situations in unique ways, but with a similarity that ties them together and bonds them. So even though, like I said, there is a light romance involved between the two of them, it is indisputable that the purpose of that love is just a support system. And I think it is so beautiful to go on that journey with them, where they're just making each other feel seen and heard and accepted and loved. And it is so, so wonderful. So that's Turtles All the Way Down by John Green. Then I'm going to talk about Eat, Pray, Love. I will keep these last two brief because I talk about them all the time because they're two of my favorite books of all time. Eat, Pray, Love, I particularly think of Platonic love when it comes to like part one of Eat, Pray, Love. Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert is divided into 3 sections. The first part is when she's in Italy, the second part is when she is in India, and then the last part is when she is in Indonesia. That should be correct. So the first part is kind of like her self-love journey, but also understanding that love can come platonically and not only romantically, and that in fact platonic love should be ranked higher than romantic love, because it is I'm hesitant to like say that it's more wholesome, because romantic love can be very, very wholesome, but platonic love it is just like, there is nothing transactional about platonic love, as opposed to romantic love can be transactional to a certain extent, okay? This sounds like I'm bashing romantic love. I am not. I just mean there are, like sexual attraction aspects to romantic love that are not present in platonic love. So that's what I mean by it is like the most pure form of love, which there is platonic love within romantic love. You know what I mean? But the romantic love has like that additional aspect of there being. I feel like I'm just opening a can of worms, but I hope that makes sense. Anyway, so in her journey in Italy, she is focusing on platonic love and not allowing herself to experience romantic love, because she has just gone through a really, really tough divorce and she doesn't want to, jump into another romantic relationship when she's not ready to do so. And she acknowledges that there's a part of her heart that needs to be nurtured in a way that romantic love can't, but platonic love can. And she meets these individuals that teach her how to speak Italian, and then this friend that she goes and eats all of the carbs with, and she's just basking in the simple pleasures of everyday life and what it's like to be in a foreign country and enjoy the culture and fully just revel in its glory. And that is all done alongside of her friends, which is a really beautiful thing to see as she's healing from a broken heart surrounded by friends. And it's so lovely. So that is why I would recommend Eat, Pray, Love for Platonic love. And then the final one is, can you all guess? Can you guess? Which book do I talk about probably the most on this goddamn channel? 84 Charing Cross Road by Helene Hoff. I will keep this so very brief. This is another epistolary novel. And the premise of this one is that Helene Hoff, this is a true story, she is writing to a bookshop in London, England, because she refuses to get her books from New York, which is where she resides. She wants all of these books to come from this English bookshop because they're the books that she wants, they're the editions that she wants. It just makes sense for her. So she writes letters back and forth asking for the books that she wants. The owner of the store and her develop a really, really deep and profound friendship, but over time she also becomes friends with the entire staff of the bookstore. And their correspondence takes course through many, many years, and it is so beautiful. It is just the absolute pinnacle of platonic love and caring for someone that they don't even see face to face. It is all strictly done through letters, and it's so magical to me that you can feel the love within these letters that were exchanged. And it was such a pure relationship. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about that one. I cannot recommend that book enough. My dad just recently read it and he really, really enjoyed it, which made me burst with happiness because that book means so, so much to me. Anyway, I have talked for very long. Thank you so much, so much for sharing your time with me and your endless patience. I will be back soon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will see you when I see you. Bye.